So, just kind of starting off in the middle of a few things here. I've been playing around with this set of skeleton enemy models that I bought, and what I kind of have is each model. So, there's a model creator that lets you choose like the armor and the equipment that's on their hands or on the back or whatever. And it comes also with a animation controller that's pretty elaborate. Well, not elaborate so much as just there's a lot of steps. And the main variety of these steps are these attacks. There's attacks with two hands, attacks with one hand. Somewhere in here there's a animation for firing a bow. I think that's this one. Or using a spell, and just all these triggers that are available. And I've been kind of thinking about it, and it's, I could put together a code file that restricts which animations are available to which prefab, and I would have to do that for every single variation of this enemy that I create. Which, I don't know how many I'll end up with. I could end up with quite a few varieties, or, maybe just a handful. I don't really know. It's a really cool looking shield. But the main point, though, is when it comes down to my AI behavior for attacking, I'll also need to vary based on the types of attacks are available. Does the enemy have a shield or not? Would indicate whether they can actually block, or are they entirely offensive with just weapons? Are they holding a two-handed weapon? Maybe they have some extra options as far as guard breaking or stunning. The bow and arrow, maybe they can attack from a further range, and they don't need to engage, directly right in front of the player. So on and so forth. So I would like to have a way to report that without having to have a lot of these, very similar but, somewhat disparate scripts running around. Like, this script handles a skeleton with one-handed weapon. This one's one-handed and a shield. This one's a bow and arrow. This is bow and arrow that can switch to a shield to block. So on and so forth. I kind of just want to detect when the enemy is spawned. What kind of equipment do they have on them? Can they switch to a sword and to a pair of swords and put their shield away? And that would then change their AI state. Maybe their behavior would change. They wouldn't be playing defensively. They'd be fighting, very offensively. So I figured we'd kind of just go through and set something like that up where we'll detect the types of weapons that they have on their arms and on their back and hip, and see where we end up from there. As far as restricting the types of animations and things like that. So first off, I'm just kind of gathering my names of my bones that have weapons attached to them. We got our biped L weapon, biped R, or biped 01R weapon. At the same time, there's also on the back, I believe, is a bone that should have a weapon on it, or maybe not. So that is really the question. So we go spine, neck, ponytail head, left clavicle, goes down the bones of the arms, right clavicle. It has this fire effect. Okay, and this isn't actually a weapon on the back. This is just a part of the armor. So it's not actually weapons that can be pulled off. And I'm guessing then in the same, the dagger isn't actually, or the sword here isn't actually a sword that can be wielded. Well, I mean, that makes that simpler, but I guess that also simplifies my AI as well. I suppose I could change the creator script to actually allow the weapon to be pullable, but I don't think there's an animation for pulling the weapons off of the hip or off the back. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a weapon for drawing or sheathing, or an animation for drawing or sheathing weapons. So that makes the situation a little better if those are just for decoration. So we can just grab these two bones. And let's go ahead and create a new controller here. Let's see, enemy. Well, we also have an inventory with our enemy, right? But I don't have a specific inventory. Yeah, enemy has an enemy inventory that has just the XP that the enemy provides. And I want to say the items that can be dropped are just here in the items collection. And given the drop rate, it determines if we get it or not. Though I might need to do something with that down the line in case I want my enemy to have consumable items. But let's, so we have our enemy inventory. Do I have an enum for weapon types or anything like that? Yeah, nothing like that. Just names and keys and things like that. Category weapon. Yeah, so let's go ahead and we'll create something for that. And I'm not going to worry about tying this into my equipment system just yet. And for our weapon types, we've got a solid starting list right here. There we go. The problem is we can't actually see these in the preview because the way they've built this. There we go. So there's a... Why is this doubled down? W Mace 01. These are all untextured. That's weird, but that's also only a factor of the... Oh. Duh, because this is the mesh and this is the actual imported FBX. Okay. Alright, so let's start from here. I think bow and arrow both just go together. Let's take a look at the editor, actually. So the bows are only available on the left hand. Same with the shields. So no left-handed enemies for me. Yeah, so the arrow can only go in the right hand. Yeah, that gives me... Those are idle stances. There we go. There's the arrow attack. So yeah, so the bow and arrow only works if the left hand is also a bow. Um, and I may want to switch that later. Like I might even without an animation, I might want to have a mechanism to switch the model, so I could put the bow on the back and then put the draw a sword or something for close range. But we can worry about that a little bit later. There you are. So as far as weapon types, we have axe, bow. What's a double axe and a double sword? Is that just a two-sided axe? Yeah. What's a double sword versus... I think double might be their indicator for two-handed. Yeah, I mean, there's the double sword. Yeah, that's way too big to be a one-handed sword. That makes more sense. Same with that. Yeah, so I think that's the deal. So we have axe, bow, sword. Mace, scythe, shield, spear, staff, axe, bow, sword, two-handed axe, two-handed sword, mace, scythe, shield, spear, staff. Yeah. Yeah, that covers everything. And then variations of different one-handed swords. Which there's no reason they can't hold them two-handed. Actually, that one looks really cool. So we'll start there. And we'll say our enemy inventory. Default to none. And let's see. So based on that weapon type on the enemy inventory, we'll use that. We'll read that from our AI behavior down the line. But for now, we're just going to worry about setting that to something appropriate. So in our case, I'm going to take our skeleton prefabs. There we go. We have this prefab that I generated earlier. He's got a animator, he's got a animation controller that I'm going to need to replace, as well as a character controller, because we're going to want this guy just to be the model and the rest of our normal AI-driven prefab to be the root level. But for now, I can operate on this as far as our equipment script goes. So as far as equipment goes, this will be a model specific script. And we'll just call it skeleton equipment check. Not exactly a great name, but you know, we'll figure something out. What were the name of those bones again? There we are. BIP 01 left weapon and BIP 01 right weapon. And the child of those is going to determine our weapon type. So if left hand transforms are structs, aren't they? No, they're classes, okay. So we'll start there. Well, I'm thinking about it actually. Let's two things. First off, I need to add in my gameplay objects so my scene will actually work. Second, we want we're just going to grab a stationary enemy type. And we'll just go ahead and dump him into the model placeholder. Now I'm actually going to add this onto the prefab for the model. So what I want is this dot get component in parent. This is an enemy. Find child recursive. Well, that's not helpful that it's the same name as my extension that is recursive. So let's update that. Where'd it go? There you are. Find child. Let's rename it actually. So we got our shield and mace. What are these? Oh, because my enemy's position is way off. I'll just go ahead and do that. It's still attacking? Oh, because the battle behavior's on by default. That's weird. There we go. Yeah, that was weird. The prefab had the battle turned on by default, so whoopsie daisy. So we know that we have our weapon types, which is fine. Let's go ahead and update our inventory. And we're going to do a similar thing here. And let's go ahead and take another look at our weapons. if name contains double x, double underscore x. Yeah. Okay, so there's two-handed axe and sword. The name contains bow, mace, mace, scythe, shield, spear. And staff. Yeah. Axe, sword, bow, mace, scythe, shield, spear, staff. Yeah. Sounds good to me. So there we go. Found the shield and mace, so that's good. So that kind of lays the groundwork for this. So I think in our next part, we're going to take a look at restricting which types of animations that the enemy can do, depending on the types of weapons it has. So thank you, and I will catch you guys later.